The newest wave of spoilers for Innistrad Crimson Vow have just been revealed, and I have to say, it's a good day to be a red mage. There are a bunch of powerful red spells that got revealed today. In fact, at least one of these is so strong that it's probably going to lead to a banning.
Magic. I am a wizard! History. I'm an old wizard! The magic historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. My friends, I hope the day finds you well because we have gathered to talk about brand new magic cards from Innistrad Crimson Vow. The newest wave of spoilers is here, and like I said, red got a really good deal today. There are a bunch of awesome red cards. Now we're going to look at a range of different cards, but the focus is going to predominantly be red in this episode. So let's start out with Chandra, Dressed to Kill. 2 red and 1 for a legendary Chandra Planeswalker with 3 loyalty. Her first ability is +1, add 1 red mana. Chandra Dressed to Kill deals 1 damage to up to 1 target player or Planeswalker. Her second ability, also a +1 ability. Exile the top card of your library. If it's red, you may cast it this turn. And we actually saw that particular phrase in the recent Innistrad teaser video, and I was 100% right about the type of card it would be on. And the -7 ability, exile the top 5 cards of your library. You may cast red spells from among them this turn. You get an emblem with, whenever you cast a red spell, this emblem deals X damage to any target, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast that spell. This, to me, is an impressive Planeswalker. First, she only costs 3 mana, and that makes her very competitive, right? Like I've said previously, Magic has sped up. So, unless you're playing like a slow control deck, your deck needs to be running out of the gates. Planeswalkers that cost 3 hit that sweet spot of being quick to get to the board. And Chandra can speed you up in terms of giving you more mana, while at the same time pinging your opponent or decreasing the loyalty of one of their planeswalkers by 1 every turn, or she can speed you up by getting you cards off the top of your deck. As long as you don't exile something like a land, if you're playing a mono red deck, it's just more gas to keep going. And that ultimate ability, good lord, is it powerful. Every time you cast a spell, you just get to tack on damage equal to its casting cost, and even if the spell gets countered, the emblem ability is still going to go off. So, overall, this feels like a really solid little package, and I have to say, I adore this artwork so much. This is now my favorite Chandra artwork, and it really does evoke the sort of fanciful, festive nature that is underlying Crimson Vow, because Crimson Vow is the vampiric wedding set with all of the nobles getting together, and you have Chandra dressed to kill, which works on multiple levels, right? And her outfit is amazing. She literally looks like a princess or a noblewoman. She's got this stately gown that looks very expensive, but her shoulders are aflame. And more impressively, those fires aren't causing any damage to her garments, right? Like when you take a look at the shoulders that have the fires flaring up, and you take a look at the arms with the big puffy gossamer garment, that looks like if it got even the tiniest little fragment of fire on it, it would just burn huge swaths in it, right? So that like delicate and dainty nature of the dress kind of contrasted against the danger of fire is crazy. And then just the fact that she has the fire flowing up off of her is so impressive. Like her hair, right? It just curls down into the flames like it's nothing. The flames can lick up and they won't burn her. But would they burn other people? Do they burn hot? I don't know, man. It's awesome. She looks so good. And she's in this bright red dress. All these other vampires that are around her, well, she's not a vampire, but all around her are vampires, mostly in garments with muted tones. And even the background, like she really does stand out. She is a lodestone for your eye. And I'm sure she would be the talk of the ball, right? That's the kind of vibe I get off this. This is a well-executed card in every conceivable fashion. I really like it. Moving on. We've got Hallowed Haunting. This is an interesting one. 2 white and 2 for a mythic enchantment that says, as long as you control 7 or more enchantments, creatures you control have flying and vigilance. So right off the bat, when you read that, you go, well, this doesn't actually feel mythic to start with. It's like you have to have 7 enchantments, and all you get for that is to give your creatures flying and vigilance. Do you know what I mean? Like 4 mana, you wouldn't play an enchantment that costs 4 mana that says your creatures get flying and vigilance just on its own, regardless of the fact that this one requires you to have 7 enchantments. But then you look at the second ability. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, create a white spirit cleric creature token with this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of spirits you control. So when you put that together, as you cast enchantments, you're creating more and more spirits. And once you finally hit 7 enchantments, all of a sudden those spirits are going to be flying and have vigilance. And if things went according to plan, they're going to be big, fat tokens as well. I mean, if you presume that maybe you cast 1 enchantment before you cast Hallowed Haunting, and then cast 5 more afterwards to get to the 7 necessary to gain the Flying and Vigilance, well, that means that you've gained 5 spirit tokens. And each of those spirit tokens would be 5 5s if they had not been dealt with. So having 5 5 flyers with Vigilance is nothing to sneeze at. So it does have the aspect of a finisher, but it also feels to me like it might be too slow and clunky for standard. I could easily be proven wrong on this, but it feels like this one is something that's going to find a home in commander decks and maybe in one of the older formats where you can build around it and really take advantage of it. But it's not too shabby. I mean, the fact that it'll generate a creature off of each enchantment you cast isn't too bad. The first ability isn't that hot, but the second ability is pretty solid and scales up nicely. And we can see the artwork shows an abbey that has been haunted, right? You have how many spirits in the artwork here? 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like 5 actually. The amount that I mentioned. Or no, wait, hold on, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Never mind, there's 7. That makes perfect sense with the 7 they were going with for this. All right, so these are all like holy cleric spirits because it's a hallowed haunting. So every time one of these is summoned up, it's like the spirit of a dead cleric resonates with this enchantment energy and it's drawn back into the world of the living, albeit in Geist form. So very cool flavor about it, and I do like the perspective of this like eagle eyes view where we're up in the sky seeing it almost like a bird flying overhead. Now let us move on to the next card, my friends. We have Voice of the Blessed, tying into the spirit cleric concept. So it goes great with that enchantment in the first place, but this is a really solid card. White life gain decks have become like pretty much standardized in Magic now, in Standard. So Voice of the Blessed here is going to fit in quite well. 2 white for a 2/2 Spirit Cleric. Whenever you gain life, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on it. Now that is what you get normally when you get like a common level creature that boosts off of it. But obviously there's more. As long as Voice of the Blessed has 4 or more +1/+1 counters on it, it has Flying and Vigilance, tying into the same theme as the previous card we looked at with the Spirit Clerics. And as long as Voice of the Blessed has 10 or more +1/+1 counters on it, it's indestructible. This is a lot of value for 2 mana. Do you know what I mean? If you have a regular way to gain life or just give it lifelink, things are going to get out of control really quick. And I enjoy the artwork on it too. You've got this spirit who's got this impressive flowing cloak just standing there in this sort of like triumphant pose, a defiant cleric who's ready to fight back against the vampires from beyond the grave. And actually, this cleric, this Voice of the Blessed, might actually reside in that monastery, that abbey, whatever you want to call it, that we just saw in the previous artwork. But this is a solid card overall. This is good. Moving on. We've got more crazy redness. And we're not even, you know what? I'm just going to get carried away if I go, wait till you see it all. We'll see it. 2 red and 3 for the Volatile Arsonist. 4/4 legendary human werewolf. It has menace and haste, which means you're going to be able to swing with it the turn you put it out, and it has to be blocked by 2 creatures. Whenever it attacks, it deals 1 damage to each of up to 1 target creature, 1 target player, and or 1 target planeswalker. You can choose all 3 targets. You can hit a player, you can hit a creature, and a planeswalker all in one go. And this triggers just on the attack. It doesn't even require connecting with your opponent. So you're not going to be able to chump block this using a 1/1 and something else, because if you have a 1/1, she's just going to whip her torch at it. I mean, if you take a look at the artwork, it kind of looks like this is somebody who's had some real problems with fire and has kind of burned their own head a bit. That's the kind of vibe that it gives me. I like it. This artwork's awesome. The snowy background with this individual out in the darkness with their torch. This is the daybound side of it, but it's shown in night. So you got the moon in the background, and this is the front side. This is the daybound version. Wait until you see the nightbound version. It's even crazier. The nightbound version is Dire Strain Anarchist. 5/5 now instead of 4/4. Still has menace, still has haste, but now when it swings, it deals 2 damage to a creature, a player, and a planeswalker. Like, you just get to do 3 free shocks. Just bang, bang, bang. And I love the way, like in the other artwork, they've got a torch. I'm going to throw this torch at you for 1 damage. But now it's just a gigantic part of a tree that's been caught on fire. And I'm going to whip that. And then you've got the wolf, who's more in the background now, right? In the previous artwork, the wolf was more in the forefront hanging out. Now the wolf's kind of got its head down going, whoa, okay, this werewolf here is a little too wild for me. Maybe we don't need to be burning the entire town down, pal. Anyways, absolutely awesome. I still don't know what those twinkles are in the sky around the moon. I want to figure out what those are. I'm hoping they're going to tell us in the story. Either way, this is a really impressive card. There's a reason it's mythic rare. Moving on, we have Path of Peril, an interesting combination of a white wrath effect and a black mini board wipe. So, Path of Peril is 2 black and 1 for a sorcery with cleave, 1 black, 1 white, and 4. And how cleave works is if you pay the higher cleave cost, then you get to ignore what it says in the brackets. So, if you play Path of Peril without cleaving, then you destroy all creatures with mana value 2 or less. So, if you have 2 black and 1 and that's all you spend, every creature that costs 2 or less, gone off the board. Feels pretty black in terms of a little mini removal, right? A lot of the time that's done with -2, -2, -3, -3, but either way, it's got that feel to it. But if you pay 6 mana, including a white, then you get to destroy all creatures. So it works very much like a Wrath of God effect, which is predominantly white, but black also has effects like that, such as Blood in the Snow. The flavor text says, to Olivia's guests, a welcome. To everyone else, a warning. Is that what those lights are supposed to be? I see the light. No, I guess, I don't know. The Path of Peril is clearly this pathway where you can see all these bodies on spikes, man. It's like Vlad the Impaler had been going to town here. And look at that chariot, like, rocketing up. I assume that's supposed to be, like, blood flowing out, but it really, to me, looks like it's like a turbo rocket booster carriage. Doesn't it look like that to you? Look at the way the blood's jettisoning outward. It totally has like afterburner feel to it. Let's go, Top Gun! Are you with me, Goose? Let's do it. So, I mean, this is a solid card. You can use this, obviously, to take care of small problems at the beginning, and boom, wipe the board later on, or just get a bunch of little wieners out of your way when you want to swing with the big dudes. Moving on. We've got Alchemist's Gambit. Now, this is actually the card that I said could lead to a banning when I looked at it. This is what feels like it might lead to a banning. It may not be this card specifically getting banned. But anyways, let's talk about the card first. 2 red and 1 for a sorcery. This is another cleave spell, so it costs 7 to cleave it, 4, 2 blue, and a red. All right? Take an extra turn after this one. During that turn, damage can't be prevented. At the beginning of that turn's end step, you lose the game. Exile Alchemist's Gambit. So, on the surface, this is a tried and tested thing they've done in red a number of times, where it's you get an extra turn and it's cheap, but you have to win in that turn, otherwise you lose the game. That's a very red feel to it because red is like a very passionate now. I don't care what it costs me as long as I can have it now style mentality, right? Black has a power for like any cost to get power style sacrifice concept, and red has more of a passionate, oh, I want what I want and I want it now style concept to it. So that's the idea behind this. You can get another turn, and damage can't be prevented during that turn, which is a pretty crazy thing, it feels like, to just tack on to this ability. So you can use it as a small cast, I'm going to take another turn now, or you can pay the full 7 and just take a full-on extra turn where damage can't be prevented. The spell gets exiled in either case, but if you pay the cleave cost, you don't lose the game at the end of that extra turn, right? So there's a huge difference there. Now, the reason this leads me to think it'll get banned is because we are already seeing the All Runs Epiphany deck that has done very, very well. Like, this is a tier 1 deck, and when it was dominating in the recent Worlds tournament, there was a bunch of people who fully expected to see it get banned, right? Like, people were already going, it's worth banning. Wizards of the Coast was already paying attention to it. Now you literally have a second take an extra turn spell that you can shove into the deck. So all of a sudden, you have 8 take an extra turn spells in that deck if you want to go with the full complement, which to me is probably going to turn out to be too much. I don't know if there's going to be some other deck that'll be powerful enough that it'll push the presence of Epiphany decks downwards. But honestly, they had that arena event where you could try the decks out, and I tried playing with the All-Runs Epiphany decks, and they're gross. They're really strong. I mean, the mono green decks were all right, but the Epiphany decks felt really powerful and almost inevitable with the amount of resources they had. Sure, if you get the right setup, you can power through and beat them with the right deck, but it feels like unless your motor is running like full speed and 100% clean, like super speed, then you're probably not going to be able to outpace that deck. And that's how it felt before introducing an extra time walk that lets you either pay the full ability, right, where you can just have an extra turn, or if you really just need another turn, you can just do it with 3 mana, as long as you know you're going to win at the end of that turn. So to me, that really amps up the speed of the deck and pushes it into the territory of something's got to give. This probably not going to be the card to get banned, I'm guessing. All Runs Epiphany would probably be the easier choice if they had to nerf one of the extra turn spells, but at the same time, Epiphany is a mythic rare, and Wizards may not want to kind of nerf Kaldheim in that way, so they might try and look at some commons or uncommons they could nerf from the deck. But to me, this feels like some kind of banning is going to be required. Well, time will tell. The artwork is what it is. You've got this alchemist from Innistrad going, hey, check out my lantern. I don't know. It doesn't really do much for me. I look at it and go, not really my thing. Whatever. Let's move on to the next card. So, again, surprise, surprise, it's a crazy red card. This is another bonkers red card. 2 red and 2 for a 4/4. Honestly, I feel like combining this dragon with the mythic dragon from Midnight Hunt would probably be amazing, because the Midnight Hunt one lets you draw spells as you play them. So with this one, you can be like, draw a spell, you take damage. Cast a spell, you take damage, draw a card for it, cast another one, and you can just go boom, 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 boom. Like, it just seems crazy. Anyways, this one is 4 mana for a 4/4 flyer. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create an XX red dragon illusion creature token with flying and haste, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast that spell. Exile that token at the beginning of the next end step. Clearly, I got the ability is slightly confused with that other one who does damage. Never mind that. Either way, I feel like this would combine amazingly with that other dragon, because every time you're casting a non-creature spell, you're getting to draw a card and make a dragon token. Although I thought that this, originally when I saw the concept Red Dragon Illusion, I thought the card that made it would actually be red-blue. So I am genuinely surprised to find out that this is a mono-red card. But the power level of this card is undeniable, right? Every time you cast a spell, you get to make an illusion token. I feel like you might actually be able to use this in some kind of combo build as well, where you're literally just sacking those creatures for additional, like, it makes a creature. I'll sack that creature to draw a card. Oh, look, another spell to cast to make another creature. Rinse and repeat silliness. Like, this one to me doesn't feel like it's going to call for a ban the same way that the Alchemist card we just looked at does, but it does feel really, really potent, and it lends itself well to the concept that red has a ton of crazy powerful cards that got spoiled today. And it doesn't hurt that it's a pretty sleek looking little dragon, and I like the fact that it actually feels like a 4/4 dragon. When you look at it, it doesn't have a huge bulking like body like some of the 5/5 or 6/6 dragons. This one looks like it is more slender and perhaps agile, right? And also, it's a dragon mage. He's an illusionist who can summon up versions of himself. How does that work? Does it have anything to do with like filtering moonlight through his wings and then below them dragon illusions appear? It's a really evocative concept. Anyhow, that wraps up all the spoilers I have to talk about today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Have a brand new lore video from Innistrad over on my Magic lore channel. So I'm going to link that on the screen right now. Go watch it. You'll love it. It's great. See you next time. Thanks to my patrons.